Yes man.
Yeni ajanda bir şey gördüm. Twitter'da attım onu. Bu süt yönleniliyor ama.
Ne lan bu? Equip fire to send Ne bu şey bir Sky'ın ultisi gibi bir şey mi lan bu?
Ne bize çevirsene.
Fire to throw orb. Allah Allah bir şeyler atıyor dur bakalım. The orb will travel in the max time of point dropping the ground. Upon hitting the ground it will stick the place and begin to cook for 5 seconds. After 5 seconds zone will be expand out of the 7 meter and all enemies catch will be trade to the center. Enemies suffering. Allah Allah. Gözcü oğlum bu. Bildiğin gözcü.
Yüzlük detayını kestin mi?
Oha. Öncü. Şey işte öncü gözcü neyse. Öncü. Ne o şeyler? Sovalar mavalar. Oğlum adam full şey yapıyor yanlış anlamadıysam eğer. Near sight.
Evet önce olacaktı ya.
Bu adamı buluyor eğer adam onu görürse. Will travel. 5 saniye sonra 7 metreye çıkacakmış bir yerden sonra. İçinde kalan enemiler. Kızım gel ayağımı yalama. Gel. Gel yeni ajan gelmiş gel. Oyun mu istiyorsun? Kaçıyorsun. Dur şurada yeni ajanı okuyoruz. Dur bir dur. İçinde kalanlar Safra 75 deme içecekler diyor. Are the faint and cannot escape zone by normal means for face and can be fly to drop earlier. Allah Allah. Tam olarak nasıl çalıştığını anlamadım ama. Ultisi Osman Tokat'ı.
Hı.
Bunun videosu eğer bu sızdırılırsa videosu da bugün çıkar büyük ihtimal izleriz. Ama anladığım kadarıyla yani bu ajanı gören ya da attığı skill'leri gören yarrağı yiyor. Ultisi kör, sağır, her şeyi yapıyor.
Bir tane YouTuber dayım anlatmış ama atayım mı bunu
At
belki
bakayım.
yabancı. Atıyorum bir saniye.
Dilsiz bırakıyor.
Ya aynı bizim baktığımız fotoğrafa şey yorumluyor şu an. Yeni atmış galiba.
Aynen şu yerdekiler de onları bulanlar işte herhalde. O E'si mi, C'si mi bilmiyorum ama.
Ama sızdırması çok saçma ya. Daha var
Berk,
bitmesine.
Berk Okyar videosu açsana o anlatıyor izleyelim. Allah Allah. Ya ne senin derdin ne? Derdin ne? Derdin ne? Tipe bak. Hakan Muhafız mı bu? Bence kadın olması ayrı bir hava katmış kesinlikle.
Evet. Kadın olması iyi olmuş ya.
Hadi git.
All right, guys, what's up, idiots? So today, a friend of mine sent me this picture, and these that you see on screen. So Prowler, equip and fire to send a creature out, which will travel in a straight line, looking for enemies and/or trails. Hold fire and move mouse to steer the creature in the direction you are facing. When the creature finds a trail or an enemy, it will move towards them. Upon reaching the enemy,
Oğlum neyse tamam devam edelim. Görürse eğer onlara doğru ilerlemeye devam ediyor.
it will start a 0.5 cook time and then near sight the closest enemy for 3 seconds. Only one creature can latch onto the trail ever. So what I'm thinking it applies here is it's not going to be like Skydog where you control it. I believe this is something you steer kind of like the Sky Bird, and it can latch on to trails. And what I believe it's saying by trails is probably just where an enemy has traveled. That one's kind of hard to really get a grasp of, but that's kind of what I'm assuming it would be. Just kind of like a latch on Skydog that you kind of steer. Not a great ability, but like a boombot kind of that just doesn't do damage, but just near sights them. Is probably the best that I
Adam
can
buluyor kitlenirse
sort
görürse.
of compare it to. So seize, equip an orb, and press fire to throw the orb. The orb is going to travel in a max time of 1.5 seconds until dropping to the ground. Upon hitting the ground, it will stick in place and cook for 0.5 seconds. And after 0.5 seconds, it will expand out to 7 meters, and all enemies caught within will be tethered to the center. Tethered enemies will suffer a 75 decay damage, are deafened, and cannot escape the zone by normal means for 5 seconds. Can be reactivated in flight to drop earlier. So it looks like this is something that you can kind of throw when it travels above, like up in the sky, and it drops down after a certain amount of time. And upon that, it'll just kind of act like an Astra suck, and it will pull the enemies in and add decay to them, which is
Şey diyor, bunu büyük ihtimalle bir yere fırlatacaksınız diyor. O bir side'a düşecek. Ve o side'da işte Astra'nın çekmesi gibi içine çekecek ve 75 damage verecek diyor.
kind of busted, honestly. I think a suck in itself is good enough. So I don't like,
Ah, bir
especially
şey
a suck that you
çekmişsin
can just
ya,
kind of put
yeter.
Bekle bakayım.
down on command with like a little bit less warning than an actual suck. I feel like that might be pretty stupid, honestly. But I guess we'll see how that one plays out. Haunt is fire to throw the orb. The orbs will travel in the air a max time of 1.5 until dropping to the ground. Once it hits the ground, it raises back up and turns into an eye that can be destroyed. If the eye sees opponents, it will reveal them and apply a trail debuff that lasts 12 seconds. Can be reactivated in flight to drop the projectile earlier. So kind of like the same thing as the suck, except instead of sucking them, it will just give them a trail debuff, and then it will give them a
Bu trail debuff ne ya?
so it'll give them a trail debuff, and then it will reveal them like a Sova drone. So instead of sucking, it just reveals them and gives them the trail debuff. Now going back to Prowler, what I think is the implication here is just simply that the Prowler is kind of going to just follow a trail that you get from the Haunt. So it appears that, at least from what I'm seeing, the Haunt is kind of marking them with the trail, and then the Prowler goes after the trail, which makes sense because the Haunt is the signature ability. So that does make a lot of sense, that the purchase
o
item
Zeyra
would act
muhabbeti
off
ya?
of the signature ability. So it looks like you can steer them towards the trails. It doesn't see anything about being able to destroy it, but I'm assuming you will be able to destroy it as well. And for Nightfall,
Geceyi Molotov'un savunması
equip this
bırakması
ability,
gibi.
fire to send out a wave of dark mist. If the mist comes in contact with an enemy, they will be trailed, deaf, and decayed for 12 seconds. So I'm assuming this just gives a trail. You can act on that with the Prowler, and then the deaf and decayed. So trailed is a new debuff. We don't really know what that's gonna do.
Debuff ne ya? Debuff. Etkisiz kılma mı? Ne debuff?
Whether that kind of reveals them, we don't really know. But the deaf and decayed is
Zayıflatmak işte yani Keon şeyi gibi mi acaba? Neyi yani?
going to be kind of weird as well. I believe deaf is also new. I'm assuming it's kind of like the omen
Aynen, yetenek
blind where
kullanan
it
büyük
deafens and
Ya zaten burada her şey oluyor yani.
blinds. So
Kör, sağır,
maybe it
dilsiz
acts
oluyor
something
adam.
similar to that. I don't know if the actual omen blind applies